Good morning and welcome to a special Blain's Morning Porridge. It's Sunday the 1st of March. Normally I don't do a porridge on a Sunday, but today this one is recorded the previous day, so it's a bit unusual. This morning we're going to talk about AI, politics and populism, Luddites and social revolution. And let's start off with the Beatles. You say you want a revolution. Well, you know we all want to change the world. Now, even as USA and Israel attack Iran, confirming the far-horse threat of escalating conflict risks this year, do we also face a second social threat from AI triggering widespread social and wealth inequality protests? Does 2026 risk becoming a double whammy hit on market sentiment and confidence? So, as I said, I am cheating this morning. This morning's porridge was written on Saturday before I jumped on a plane to go skiing for the week. I'm off to Italy, even as you're opening this. As war has broken out in the Middle East, I'll be bringing my laptop with me in case it gets hairier than Trump expects and we see markets more impacted. And the first thing to note is Bitcoin crashed on the higher elevated conflict risks. Now, as long as nothing changes, then you won't be hearing from me. But if there are major shocks, I guess I'll get that laptop out of its case. I did warn a few weeks ago how firehorse years, according to the Chinese Zodiac, can be volatile and explosive, and this one occurs in conjunction with a 2K, that's a 2 Kondratieff Cycle, period of hegemonic challenge and the elevated likelihood of associated conflict as the USA and China square off against each other. The rising tide of conflict in the Middle East this weekend highlights the risks. But what if we are also going through an acute societal shift which could trigger social unrest? Now, there is a great apocryphal story set in the near future where a starship built around a super AI is crewed by 3 brave humans and a small dog. The ship traverses the vastness of the galaxy to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to go boldly where no dog has gone before. And notice I did not split the infinitive. The humans are there to feed and exercise the dog. How is AI going to change the world? Do we face civilizational erasure as a result of its quadratically expanding godlike power? Will we be replaced and wiped out or become pods in some matrix-like future? Or will AI's phenomenal access to information and our intellect lead it to a fulfilling partnership between man and machine? Now, human mythology is full of stories about how men envy the gods and seek to emulate them. We foolishly try to become as they are, and such tales oft end badly. But where are the gods today? Will AIs come to see us as gods, coming to envy what we have, casually eliminating it in search of it? Casually eliminating us in search of what we are, before dimly remembering us in decaying dusty code. Who knows? I'm told that we face 2 potential future choices. So ask yourself whether you're a centaur or a cyborg. The centaur is the combination of clever man and powerful horse, by which I mean AI will do the heavy lifting while we provide the oversight, direction and insight. That sounds great. When Russian chess master Garry Kasparov was beaten by Deep Blue, he demanded a rematch but insisted that he was given access to use the computer, and that combination of human chess master's insight and machine power proved unbeatable. But recently, powerful computers have started beating the man-machine combo, exploiting their inability to work too closely together. It means that humans don't add much when faced by powerful computers. The alternative to being a centaur is to become a cyborg, and those who define the future in terms of embracing AI completely and being directed by its growing power and understanding, and they will embrace and become it, hence cyborg. And a big theme that emerged at the conference that I was at last week was how many firms in the financial markets are innovating AI in asset management, which has massive implications across the financial sector. All of them are doing it as centaurs, where it will enhance what they do. But AI is becoming the biggest workplace paradigm shift since industrialization and the innovation of the factory production line. The outlook for thinking jobs in finance is at risk, where every role across marketing, finance, legal, reporting, operations, and numbers runs the risk of being replaced by AI. Stock markets figure it's bad news for anything a computer might do cheaper, hence the tumbles across soft service businesses in the last few weeks. The new investment strategy is to barbell AI at one end and industrial capacity actually making stuff at the other while selling the soft middle. And the news that billionaire fintech founder Jack Dorsey has laid off nearly half the workforce of his very profitable firm Block and replacing them with intelligence tools we are creating and using paired with smaller and flatter teams, enabling a new way of working to build and run a company is shocking enough. But the fact that the stock rallied 20% following the announcement sums up just how much the market doesn't care what happens to your kids or your own career. And since the days when farmers replaced hunter-gatherers and bricks replaced wood and dark satanic mills replaced home weaving, technology-led paradigm shifts have been periods of unsettling fear across human societies. What happens to the people whose jobs are replaced and obliterated by new technologies? Will the days of saboteurs throwing their clogs into machines or Luddites burning down factories be repeated with mobs of unemployed accountants, lawyers, and bankers chopping down the power lines to the data centers that stole their privileged lifestyles? Are we over worrying? Thus far, technological advances have proved to be rather Malthusian in that they have all led to economic growth, and over the last century, we've seen massive numbers of people rise up from poverty, living better and longer lives as the world has become wealthier. But let's not forget how the industrial age drove 2 centuries of concentration as healthy rural workers and artisans saw their skills replaced by machines, forcing them into miserable, crowded urban slums. And the consequences upon national resilience weren't really understood until the British Army discovered in the early 20th century that recruits for the Boer Wars were dramatically less healthy and less fit than had been the case 100 years before as they were recruiting during the Napoleonic Wars. That came as a real shock to the British War Office. And social unrest is a non-zero risk. And we saw the seeds of social unrest and the results of the UK's Gorton and Denton by-election last week, where the traditional parties were crushed. The newly radicalised Green Party under Zach Polanski won, but they are not the Greens as we once knew them: environmentalist tree huggers, stop oil protesters, and whale lovers. The new populist Greens embrace a full-on left-wing populist agenda of progressive taxation, economic justice, public ownership, and social services in health, welfare, and housing. And I might just have to get my Eat the Rich t-shirt out of storage. In many ways, the Greens are comparable to the right-wing Reform, and perhaps even more likely to win. Unlike Reform, which draws its support mainly from reactionary older voters disturbed at the changes to their vision of how Britain should be, support for the new hard-left Greens comes from younger voters rebelling against the social justice injustices they see all around them, their lack of opportunities, and their lack of representation in politics. Labour and the Conservatives, the two traditional UK parties, mean absolutely nothing to them. They are seen as parties of null entropy, dull, boring, and predictably doing nothing. They have zero interest in supporting the right wing either, because they want social revolution and wealth redistribution so that they get a chance at life as well. Anyone with kids will know the problem. Where are the opportunities that we boomers and Generation X had? Let me suggest a great book you must read, Young, Poor and Totally Screwed. It's by my great mate Stuart Trow, who was an economist with the EBRD and one of the original teenage scribblers group that we founded over 20 years ago. He examines how the failures of our current political economy have left many of our young people drowning in debt, overqualified for the few Mac jobs on offer, and unable to afford accommodation. The consequences of young adults giving up work and starting families, and rising mental health issues because of their lack of share in society and engagement with it, and soaring welfare bills will be crippling for the UK's future growth, raising cascading spending crises around health, defence and national infrastructure. Talking to fixed income portfolio managers last week at a conference I was at, they rank political risks across the West, but particularly in the UK, as elevated. Many expect the May local election results in the UK will see Labour further battered, raising the long-term electoral prospects of the populist left and right parties deeply polarising UK politics and adding another dusting of doubt to the UK's reputation for political competency, and thus the ability to ensure prompt repayment of interest and principal on gilts, which is really all that gilts investors care about. Meanwhile, populists like Donald Trump, Nigel Farage, and now Zach Polanski are not the disease. They are the symptoms of nations that are failing whole swathes of their populations. In the case of reform, they cater to a class of voter who want to return to the golden age of the 1950s and the Britain they imagine their parents grew up in, white, wealthy, respected, and where everyone knew their place. The Greens, well, they want something more revolutionary today, giving young adults some hope in life. And to be frank, I have much sympathy for them. Income inequality is a key driver of populism, and there is much talk in economic circles of the new K-shaped economy. The top 5% of wealthy owners make off with all the upside from the soaring value of their companies on the back of sacked workers, their rising wealth, and the prosperity from their stock portfolios, while everyone else scrambles for crumbs from the top table. The 1% richest in America now own 38% of the economy. Now, few folk are talking about the other side. How will economies function when consumption collapses, when everyone loses their jobs because of AI? A now infamous note from Citrini Research, launched 2 weeks ago, the 2028 Global Intelligence Crisis, is well worth a read. It's set in June 2028. Stock markets have just fallen on the back of the collapse of the consumer economy, which is still 70% of the USA's GDP. The note says the initial waves of layoffs due to human obsolescence began in early 2026, and they did exactly what layoffs are supposed to. Margins expanded, earnings beat, stocks rallied. Record-setting corporate profits were funneled right back into AI compute. AI capabilities improved, companies needed fewer workers, white-collar layoffs increased, displaced workers spent less, margin pressure pushed firms to invest yet more in AI capabilities improved, and it was a negative feedback loop with no natural break. It was the beginning of the human intelligence displacement spiral. There is much to think about in terms of conflict in Iran and the social unrest that could follow the new economy. Much to worry about, but not for me this week. I'm skiing instead, and unless anything dramatic happens, that's all I intend to do. So I will be back in the second week of March, writing the morning porridge again, but until then, I'm off sliding. Thanks very much. You can find the Morning Porridge on www.morningporridge.com, and I'll be back with more stuff next week or the week after. Thanks very much for your time.